Good evening, New Bedford Guide, New Bedford residents, and Greater New Bedford viewers. Chris Resendes back after a week off. I had some training in the real job last week, and I apologize. I'm sure a lot of you missed me. The past couple of weeks, I've been able to see the good in a lot of people. We started a toy drive for the children of Puerto Rico who relocated to New Bedford from Puerto Rico. There's 138 kids, somewhat above that at this point right now. I hooked up with a couple good friends of mine in the area, a couple people that actually do a lot for the community, Manny Abreu, Edwin Cartagena, and Christian Farland, and together we were able to set up a pretty successful toy drive. Today was the pickup, and I'm proud to say that we collected hundreds of toys and over $2,000 in gift cards. They'll be delivered tomorrow to the United Way and distributed to these families. I want to thank every single one of my sponsors, and yes, I'm going to go through them all because they deserve the credit for helping out. First and foremost, New Bedford Guy for giving me the opportunity to set this up. New Bedford Pack and Ship, Derek, thank you. Christian Farland, Farland Co-op. Tara Winterhalter from Ritual Sweat Society. Dave Eaton from South Coast Krav Maga. Jessica Marmello from Cravings. Mario Ribeiro from Cask and Pig and Pasta House. Vanessa Lagoa from Salon V. Nelly Saraiva from Chris and Nelly Weddings. Sarah Medeiros, Julie Martin, and Stephanie Save from Stephen & Company. John Leonard from J&S Guns. And again, Mike Silva, thank you so much for letting me use this platform at New Bedford Guide to do this. It's a small little gesture that we did, and it's going to touch a lot of people, folks. And I'm really hoping that, I was just talking to my next guest's mother, and it's this time of year you see the good in people. If we could continue to do stuff like this throughout the year and be this kind to everybody and think about others more than we, put yourself behind others and try to do good for others on a weekly basis, our community would be a way better place, guys. Treat every month like it's Christmas and try to be good and kind to each other. Without further ado, I got three special guests tonight. The first one is the superstar. She is a 10-year-old from the city, a student over at Carney Academy. She put together, we'll go over it. Her name's Kyleah Bodden. She's a 10-year-old student from Carney Academy. Kyleah, in exchange, instead of receiving birthday gifts, she asked for donations so that way she can be part of our toy drive and our drive to, get the kids stuff from Puerto Rico and families. And this selfless act was done with no guidance from her mom or anyone else. She did it on her own. A 10-year-old decided she wanted to be selfless and forego birthday presents for people that were less fortunate than her. She's honestly a ray of hope in our community. And to see someone this young doing something like that is so awesome. And as soon as I heard it, I said, Manny, we got to get her on tonight. Kyleah, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, gosh. And she's super polite and sweet, so it's awesome. She's a total package. Kyleah, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm 10 years old. I like to write poetry, read, and I like writing music and playing the piano.
That's awesome. Now you're in 5th grade?
Mm-hmm.
Carney Academy?
Yep.
You love it there? That's great. What was your thought when you said, hey, when Mom asked you, what do you want for your birthday?
Well, I realized that I didn't really need anything, and I really wanted to help others who are less fortunate. So my original idea was to have canned goods and give that to people, but that would be too heavy, so I decided on clothes. But since most people give actual clothes, I decided people will need other underclothes as well.
That's awesome. She's not only 10 years old, folks. I mean, it's amazing. Good job, Mom. Mom said she's not camera ready, but gosh, she deserves just as much recognition. What a wonderful child. what a wonderful example for not only kids your age, but adults as well. Sometimes we forget about others, and people like you are necessary to show us that, there's more important things, and it's simple and easy to do. A lot of people help you out?
Yes, I would like to thank my family and my friends for helping me donate this.
That's sweet. Mike and I have discussed Manny DeBrito, who's really involved in mentoring children. We're going to do a spin-off at some point next year, starting with the youth of New Bedford. And it's going to be like Faces of New Bedford, but we're going to spotlight once a month children from the city in the area. Children like Kyleah, who deservedly need to be recognized. Good kids who do good stuff for the city, and just, to show others and to show people in our community that our children are good. We're going to try to get some sponsors. We're going to try to get a dinner at the end of every year and get all these kids together and do some awards and stuff like that. And Kyleah's are going to be our first one. You're going to be number one on our new project, starting hopefully next month. I want to thank you for what you did. I want to thank you for helping the toy drive. I want to thank you for just being a good person. And my wife and I want to give you something for your birthday. I know said you didn't need anything and others needed it, but I'm donating my host fee tonight to you for your birthday. Happy
Thank
birthday, Kyleah. Is there anything you need? And anything ever you need, you come and you get in touch with us. Chris at New Bedford Guide. Your mom has my number now. And you make sure that you let us know any projects you want to work on, or if you want to come in the studio to do something. Maybe showcase your music or whatever, your poetry. We'd love to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kyleah. Have a great, great night, and keep doing what you're doing. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you too.
God bless you. God bless you, Mom. Wow. You really can't top that, folks. Honestly. I guess we gotta pay some bills here. Again, I mentioned Mario. He was an intricate part of our toy drive over at the Cask and Pig and Pasta House. He is also an advertiser with us, and right now, get your last minute Christmas gifts, folks. If you buy $100 in gift cards, you will receive another $20 gift card free. So you buy 100, you get 20 back free. 2 gift cards, 120 worth for 100. It's either at the Cask and Pig or the Pasta House. Cask is now doing lunch 7 days a week. Excellent, excellent. We went to the Celtics game last night, Mario and I, and we were trying to get some deviled eggs from them, but it kind of got too late. Try to get there anytime you can. Food's excellent, it's yummy, and it's a guy that actually helps his community. I can't stress it enough, and that's why I mentioned all the businesses that help. Be sure, guys, when you're spending your hard-earned money, that you're helping the businesses that help your community. It's easy to spend money online and do all the other stuff, but for a couple more dollars, if you support local businesses who do support the community, it's just a win-win for everybody. With no further ado, I've been really looking forward to this interview. I was actually a pretty big supporter of Chris. I was really pushing for him for the city council race. He came up a little short, but I was a little disappointed in the voters, I'm not going to lie. There's a couple people that are a little stagnant in the city council right now, and I would love to see them go and Chris come in. Dr. Christopher Boerl. Thank you, Chris, for being
Chris,
on.
how are you doing?
I'm great, Chris. We switched our setup up. Usually I'm staring at at the guests, and now I got to turn left. Chris, you were very active on social media during the campaign. Our next guest, Ian, that's one of the things I love about him.
Yeah.
You know, he answers the questions. You came out of nowhere, literally. To run for city council, and you're from a different place, and you showed strong, and you showed the right ideas, and you showed a lot of stuff that, myself and Michael were talking about it, we liked, we had a doctor running for city council, and, lost to some other people, so, I don't know. I don't really agree with the outcome, but people spoke, and
Yeah, I mean that's it's the democratic process, and would like to see something different. But I love just fundamentally that we get to go out and choose our leaders. It's something that I teach history, and it is something that's near and dear to my heart. And so whatever the outcomes are, I think it's just this every 2, 4, however long the term is, we get to go out and make that decision. That's awesome. A lot of people don't have that. So
Yeah, no, it's a special sacred process that we have in our nation, and a lot of people don't take advantage of it. It's unfortunate. Chris, I usually start this off. This is the question I ask everybody: who is Chris Burrell?
Well, I am, first and foremost, I'm a father and a husband. I really pride myself on kind of thinking of myself as a family man. And that, I don't know where that came from. I guess I always wanted to have a family, but I had other things going on through most of my 20s, and but I mean that's why I get up in the morning. My kids, my wife, my 2 boys. I'm a teacher. I love teaching. It kind of took a roundabout way getting there. I was born and raised in Idaho. I went to college at Emmanuel College. Went back to Oregon for a while. Worked for Merrill Lynch. Wanted to do something different, so I went out to the University of London, got my PhD. Came back and actually married the girl that tutored me through Spanish, and she was I just finished med school, and so kind of the rest was history. But that's I think of myself as a family man, and as a teacher, and everything else is kind of just goes along.
The number one, someone actually paid me that compliment today. John over at JNS introduced me to his wife, and he was very very nice to me, to say the least. And he told his wife, Chris is one of the good guys. John, He goes, no, not really. He goes, you're a good family man. You're a good father, and you're active with your children, and you're active with your family. That's the top compliment any man can be paid. I think.
No, I mean, I really think that. As a teacher, I work with a lot of students that suffer from trauma, and without going into specifics, so you see a lot of broken families. You see a lot of parents that have abandoned their kids, and I just don't get it. I don't know how you walk away from your own flesh and blood, but it is something that you just take such pride in. There's not a day that goes by that I don't, I'm just not marveling at something my boys have done, whether it's taking their first steps or, telling the truth about something. It's just every day I find another reason to be proud of them. So
Awesome. Now, you ran for city councilor. Why not school committee?
So I actually, it was kind of, that was the one I really wanted to do. And at the time when I put in my nomination papers and started everything off, I was an employee of New Bedford Public Schools. And it was only after the nomination papers went in that I got my notice of non-renewal. At that point, I figured that everything was, I already ordered the signs, and I just thought, we'll do this. But no, the school committee is something that I'm deeply passionate about and remains so. As a teacher, obviously education is a big deal for
Absolutely.
me. And, so that's kind of why it was it was a conflict of interest at the time. So.
Yeah. All right. Makes sense. Let's move on to the actual run.
Okay.
And, you ran for city council. Our next guest, again, was super active on Facebook, which I love. It's, we're on Facebook right now. I mean, it's taken over at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're getting your news from it. Some of it real, some of it fake.
Yeah, that's not always a good thing. But.
Yeah, you just got to be. You and I spoke about it, and kind of got to sift through all the different types and really figure out what's true and what's not by some fact checking. But throughout the usage of social media in the city council, I really felt like this city council race was the first time that I saw a couple people really, going at it on social media in the local groups, the New Bedford Politic groups, and the chat rooms and the neighborhood watches. And I'd get notifications every day. Chris posted here, Chris posted there.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's kind of, as we're seeing it all with local media in general. We're seeing newspapers across the country. We're already seeing this. The newspapers across the country have already shut down. The local ones that continue to exist are increasingly being bought out by large national conglomerates, and they're kind of just keeping the local name, but getting everything from AP or whatever. And so, social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, that's really where the community comes. And I think for, in kind of the early stages of social media, there wasn't necessarily, we were still trying to figure it out as a community. Like, how do we get the community together on Facebook? How is it more than just posts? And part of that was we didn't have the technological adaptions and kind of the, oh, let's put this feature on it, right? So we didn't have all that end user stuff, but I think we're getting there. I think we're pretty much there. And so having these community groups, the Neighborhood Watch, I think in many ways that is now serving as that kind of local bulletin board, and it just is foolish not to take advantage of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm marveled by how Ian Abreu does it. It's, he's there, people are tagging him every day. I'm like, man, he must be tired. But I have my gun pages, I have my firearms business, and I'm getting messages all day long. Hey, is this legal? Is this on the list? Is that, how do you do this? So I get it, and you try, to provide a service, and you do it through the social media. And literally, Guns and Masks was literally built on Facebook.
Yeah, and with Ian too, I actually have a lot of respect for the guy. And when I started this race, and I don't know if I ever told him this, I was pretty sure I was going to hate the guy. Like I just, I heard a couple things. I thought, that Pratt, but it was really through first just kind of seeing his engagement with social media, and it was like every time a constituent had a question, anytime, whether they were, he had a response right there. And so then that was like, all right, I'm impressed with this guy. Like, all right, this guy's doing his job, and especially as you're saying, a lot of people weren't. So that impressed me. And then I got to get to know him on a personal level, meet him. I got to meet his family. He met mine and stuff, and I was just like, so this guy's got my support.
Throughout the process, what was your defining call to hey, listen, as city council, what are the things that you want done that, hey man, you didn't get in, but I'm sure it still burns you a little bit because you're a man with determination. You could tell you're a man with a plan. What is it man, I wish I could have gotten in so I can get this done? What is that one or two things that you really wanted to get done in the city?
I think the biggest thing is getting more of the decision-making process out in the open. I think we're lacking that, and Ian is certainly working on kind of bringing more information to the public, and even just the way he's now presenting information, whereas before it was kind of a quick Facebook update. Now it seems to be a little bit more formal, kind of like if you would have letterhead for a Facebook post, he's doing that. So I think he's even innovating the ways that he's connecting with voters and constituents. So I think that's kind of the big one right there. There's and I was as I was saying before, I was born and raised in Boise, Idaho, and so there's a lot more kind of that public input, and I think that's just goes with the history of the state and kind of when it was developed, and kind of we didn't have a lot of the infrastructure and the resources that exist out here, and that tradition is kept with the Mountain West even to this day, and so I love New England, I love New Bedford. We bought a house. This is where I want to work, retire, and be buried. But that whole idea that decisions and important decisions can be made, almost behind closed doors, or the public announcement is put out the day before, and then they're going to have a public meeting on a Wednesday evening at 5:30 when people are still commuting for more. That doesn't sit well with me, and so we need to change that, and I think we've got some people that are really working on that. And I'd like to see more of that continued, just having more of that public input and having more of the decision-making process out there in the open.
How was it on your family?
So you were talking about kind of it burning me and everything. I think the first day or two was kind of like Wednesday was rough. Wednesday was getting up, going to work, and just you feel like a loser. And it was just off on Wednesday. And then Thursday, I got to play with my kids and just wrestle with them and everything. And it was just, and I hadn't had the opportunity to do that in several weeks because every free moment you're going knocking on doors. And so just having, that was just such a release, and just, having the kids there and having my wife and the family, that was really kind of the therapy I needed.
Your wife's going to be a future guest. Actually, you bumped her off.
I checked with her first.
You did. Yeah. Her and I sat down and spoke while you were still, in the process of campaigning. We were doing a little sit down for the show that we're going to do together on the physician side of the opioid crisis. She did mention, she's like, man, he's going hard. He's out every day. He's out there. I said, how? I had asked her the same question. I'm like, what part of him running is the most difficult? And she's like, man, he's always out and about,
Yeah.
And I look at my wife sometimes, I left her high and dry today,
Yeah.
And we're a team, I try to be involved, and my wife is I posted a meme today. It was Wonder Woman changing over,
Oh yeah.
And she spun around, and That's how I describe my
I was-
wife.
Like, I think my wife is wonderful. I've used that exact description before. She's my hero. I don't know how she does it. She's the smartest woman I've ever met in my life, and smartest person, period. So kind of the joke is, she has an MD, and so kind of the joke in the family is that I'm the fake doctor. She's the real doctor. I'm amazed at what, the other day she was, our boy, our youngest, has been in and out of Children's in Boston, for the last for the last 2 weeks. And so she was coming back from Boston by the BU Medical Center.
Yep.
And she saw a guy overdosing, and she was with her father. And, I was on the phone with her, and I hear him like, pull over. And I was like, just call the cops. And so, and the guy, it was the training just took over and saved his life.
Amazing.
The paramedics came, gave the guy 4 units, Narcan, whatever.
Yeah.
And just walked in the ambulance, and there's a guy that is alive because my wife just happened to be there. And there's,
amazing.
and I can't compete with that. No one, she's awesome.
Of course you can, man.
No, she's awesome.
You're a father and you're a school teacher.
But I'm okay with that. She really is just, she's fantastic.
Yeah. They do say every good man, there's a strong woman behind him.
Yeah, rolling
And,
the eyes, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my wife, I couldn't do anything without her. I've changed a lot since I've been married.
Yeah.
And she's a part of it. And I'm sure there's still a couple more things she wants me to tweak a little more too.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Now let's head over. I'll just ask it now. Are you done? Are you gonna run again? What's up? What's the plan?
I probably will. I don't know. If I'm 100% honest, I imagine, right now I'm not really thinking about it right now. I'd be happy next couple of years just kind of doing things, but I'm sure, a year from now I'll start watching a West Wing episode and I'll start being like, oh, I should do this again, and it'll just kind of build from there.
Yeah.
I don't know. The support, I've had a lot of people come out and just, tell me that I should run again. I'm sure there's a lot of people who
I'm one of
hope
them.
I don't. But I appreciate that. And so, I mean, right now, I truthfully, I'm really not thinking about it. I guess I'm thinking about it in the extent that people ask me about it, but, if not in 2 years, maybe 4 or 6, but we'll see. I'm sure I'll run again for something.
It's a grind.
It is.
It's a sacrifice for your family. Not only you, we just went over it. Your wife sacrificed for you to run, and a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
And it's not just, hey, just go on Facebook a couple times a week and
no, it definitely.
You were knocking on doors. You were attending neighborhood meetings. You were attending the regular meetings at the city council. You were doing all that stuff.
So, yeah, I probably will. I'm not gonna. I probably will, but I don't know if it's gonna be in 2 years, 4 or 6, what. But we'll see what happens.
You just got a couple hearts.
Oh.
That came across the
Cool.
screen when you said that.
Thank you.
We had something on the ballot last year for the 4-year mayor race.
Yeah.
Christian Farland was behind the New Bedford Forward.
Yep.
I was kind of against it,
Yeah, I was too.
but it passed.
Yep.
Along with marijuana, that's coming up with Ian in a second. But now we're here 4 years, and Christian and I are now going to team up this year. And we're going to put term limits on the ballot.
I like that idea.
I was going to ask you how you felt about that.
Yeah, there's a part of me that says, elections are term limits. We have this ability to go out every so often and fire the people we don't like. At the same time, I think there is a lot of apathy, and I think one of the things that I took away from this election was there was a sense of I walked away with a kind of a renewed sense of optimism.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I was a little bit more cynical too, seeing seeing what you see on a campaign.
Yeah, of course.
Even at the local level, and so I'm kind of inclined to think that having term limits built in is maybe a necessary way that we can fight kind of the public apathy right now. I don't know, but yeah, I'm kind of inclined to think that and I know that cuts across party lines, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. People go both ways on that, and I think I'm getting there on kind of.
I don't understand. We also talked about this earlier about Democrat, Republican. Gosh, my friend Jay Williams brought up a brilliant idea that no ballot has a D or an R on it. You
Yeah.
just vote on a
Yeah.
name based on the person. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Imagine that
I mean,
thought.
right, yeah. I mean, and that was a big debate when we were being founded as a nation, whether or not I mean, George Washington never, he definitely had Federalist leanings, and he, a lot of the things he did was to support John Adams when he ran against Jefferson, but he never affiliated with any political party, and that idea of political parties initially in the founding of this nation was very controversial and almost seen as a dirty thing.
Yeah.
I'm the ward chair of the New Bedford Democrats in Ward 4, and I've been a Democrat my whole life. I've not always voted with the Democrats, it hasn't been recently. But I do think we're kind of reaching a point where there's just so much shouting and so much name calling, and just we're tuning everything else out. We kind of, and this is one of the other problems with social media, is we just create these niches, and we just we hear what we want, we get the echo chamber, and we become more and more polarized. And if we can't get a progressive Democrat and a conservative Republican to sit down together and find a solution and find a way forward, I think we're in a lot of trouble as a nation.
I mean, it's crazy. One example I brought up was yesterday's vote on the taxes.
Yeah.
There wasn't one Republican who voted against it,
no,
nor
one
was there
Democrat,
one Democrat who voted for it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You had one Republican who hated it, guaranteed,
Yeah.
more than one, and you had one Democrat who loved it, more
Yeah.
than one.
I mean, I personally am not a fan of that because of the tax cuts, but you're right. You can't tell me that
I'm
there
not talking
weren't-
about the bill itself. I'm just
but you
talking about
can't
the
tell me,
line
right,
voting.
There's not like a Democrat in West Virginia or
Yeah.
one of those Rust Belt states that didn't think like, this would help me out or this would help my, So whether or not it's completely party line, I mean, a lot of that is that way right now. And I think the only way we fix that is by sitting down and talking and really having constructive dialogue.
Absolutely.
I used to.
I mean, guys like you and I, we know we stand separate. Here's the line. You're on one side, I'm
Yeah.
on the other, but
Yeah,
we can talk, man. You know what I mean? And it's. I don't understand how people can't do that, and we can enjoy each other's
Yeah.
company and listen and
learn.
learn.
I interned for Senator Kennedy when I was in college, and one of his best friends in the Senate was Orrin Hatch, a conservative Republican from Utah, and they would just sit down together and just spend evenings just chatting away with and I just thought that was awesome. And one of my best friends in college was he was an elected Republican here in Massachusetts, and I went to go work for the Baker administration. He and I disagreed on any number of issues, but it seemed like when we actually talked, we figured out like, yeah, this makes sense. Like this is a good way forward, and we're missing that right now from too much of our public discourse.
It is, and I'm also of the belief a lot of people are too wound up in the national level politics.
Yeah,
And honestly, I try telling people this all the time. It really isn't affecting you that much.
Yeah.
The tax cuts will.
Yeah.
That whole tax bill. You will notice a difference, whether it's positive or negative. Neither of us, I don't know if you've read the whole thing or broken it down. I can admit that I haven't. So for me to sit here and tell you I like it or not, from what I've seen, I like some of it. From what I've seen, I don't, but I don't have it all the answers, so I'm not going to really opine on whether or not it's good or bad. But that's only one real thing that actually affects us.
Yeah.
People don't realize, like, if you do stuff in your neighborhood, city council runs, attend
Like
meetings,
yeah.
toy drives. I mean, look at that little girl.
Yeah.
I mean, everything happens locally that really affects you. Local laws. Now we get marijuana passed. Oh, wow, we got to deal with that.
And that's
going to change the face of New
hundreds
Bedford.
of jobs in New Bedford.
Yeah.
That could be extra revenue that we're pumping into the schools. Like those are like the bread and butter issues that really affect us, right? Like and it's so easy, and I think it's just because it's the lowest common denominator, right?
Yes.
So we've gerrymandered the districts, and it's about appealing to the base and getting them out, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you win elections. Make sure your voters get out, and so all that means is it just get more polarized, get more extreme on both ends, and that's how you mobilize people, and especially at the local level. That doesn't make any sense because these aren't partisan issues.
No.
Like taxes are too high in the city.
Yes.
Like they're just too high. And if you look at whether it's the commercial tax or the residential tax, and you compare it across Massachusetts, we're among the highest in the Commonwealth. And this is not a city with a lot of rich people. And so that's something that I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. Like we need need to figure out how we get taxes down in this city.
Absolutely.
And you know, and yeah, you're absolutely right. There's any number of issues that, you know, the wind farms, that's a big thing for New Bedford.
Huge.
A lot of jobs and jobs that could really transform the face of the city. And I think with that then also who lives here and who's attracted here and whether or not that changes kind of the cultural makeup and we should have that conversation too. You know, what you know, I let's bring jobs here. I'm all about jobs. Let's also think about how can we make sure that, you know, we're not pushing out, you know, the elderly couple that have been living here for, you know, 90 years.
When you're on a fixed income, you just, you know, you can't add tax hikes.
No.
It just doesn't work that way.
And it's, you know, one of the things is, you know, I saw these press releases coming out, and I thought they were very disingenuous about we've cut taxes with like 3 cents or something like that. But, you know, all the properties are going to be reassessed this year, you know, so all those property values are going to go up. So we're going to be paying more in taxes even though we got a tax cut.
And that's exactly
you
what's
know,
happening. But on to the next one. We need
Yeah,
taxes.
yeah.
We need taxes for better schools.
We do, absolutely.
And that's the next topic I want to touch upon again with is Dr. Pia Durkin. I mean, I've had her I've been talking about her more than I want to.
Yeah.
To be quite frank,
We all have.
It's unfortunate. It's a bad time, I think, in the district. I just got word that a assistant principal was actually punched in the chest today. I don't even know if that went reported. A lot of stuff isn't being reported. The administration and the principals under the administration are hiding stuff, and I don't know if she's aware of it. I heard she's aware of it, but it's all going to come out here pretty shortly.
Yeah.
We got a elected school committee member that's
Who's
not
our-
allowed on property.
Yeah. And that just chafes me with this idea of
Yeah,
that
no, it's crazy.
he's our elected representative.
Yeah, and it's crazy, and he's going to be part of the solution of finding a replacement for her. And I don't know if you've watched the show at all, but in the past I've called for her. Just resign.
Yeah.
You know what? Even if the district finished paying you, come up with a
Yeah,
severance where you just pay for the rest of the year and go away. Give the city, take somebody, a principal that's been in the city, a younger kid. Give them, not these guaranteed contracts.
Yeah.
Give a contract that makes a guy earn it. Give him a chance. We don't need a retread from out of town again. We don't want Desi telling us who to get.
Yeah.
You want to get someone who's going to show innovation and show a new idea and work at it and work hard and not just, I'm guaranteed for 3 years. I'm going to do what I'm going to do and that's it. You know what I mean? And that's part of the problem. I mean, we were paying the last one up until a couple of years ago. It's crazy, The guaranteed contracts are
And
a ridiculous
they're the
thing.
highest paid public employees here.
And they are. But we can also get a young kid, intern right now, someone, in-house. It builds morale.
There's a lot of talent.
There's so much talent that you can get someone in-house, give them the next 6 months to show them what they can do. Let them have a real job interview.
Yeah.
Get out, you're leaving, you're causing a bunch of, discourse in the community amongst school committee members. You got guys that are elected that aren't doing their job. And you got, because of this no trespass order, that is notoriously being used by her.
Yeah.
Which is the segue on to the next line of questioning. You've actually filed the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
And had to pay out of pocket
Yeah, it was
for the results. I
just-
mean, it was a
just
nominal
short
fee,
of like $50
but
or something. But yeah, I mean the letter I got back from Heather Elmsley, who's the human resources head, said that there's something like 216 pages, and these are just one page
notices.
and for everyone needs to know that like there's no burden of proof, right? You don't have to you don't have to show that there's any like threat there. It's just like I'm in charge. I don't want you here. You're
Absolutely.
gone, right? And there was a similar case in Massachusetts in a very just like one of those towns that you blink and you've driven past it. Mm-hmm. But there was a 20-year-old kid who was running for city office, one of the town offices. He was very critical of the superintendent. He gets served with a no trespass order. The ACLU hears about this. They come in. They start litigation, and the town just backs away, right? And I think that, I mean, this is potentially going to cost the city money. Already has, because then so I got the all the paperwork and so on, and I'm going through this, And there's like a weird story there too, because like they'd almost forgotten about it. I was working, so my wife was kind of coordinating all of that. She called them on last Friday, which was the last day that they could get this to us by law, and they hadn't started it. And so at the end of the day, get called up, come down to the school department, and they hand me a big manila envelope. And you start going through them, the first 50, 60 pages, you got all the information, redacted personal information. And then you start noticing that there's a couple that are missed. And then there's like, maybe the name's out, whited out, but the address is there. Then you got the address, but the name. Then they maybe did it like in the header, but then they forgot like, there's like, and I don't actually know the legality of this, but it just seems like the city potentially is opening themselves up to a huge lawsuit here. One for just, hey, that's our elected representative. That's our voice. That is our
Yes.
choice to go. And you're telling him you can't do that. Like, who are you to nullify an election? Like, you don't have that power.
No.
You don't like the guy, fine, but like, you can't tell him he can't go. Like, he has to be on school grounds to do his job. The job we elected him to do. No one elected Pia Durkin. And in fact, the two issues, as divisive as this election was, the two issues that people seem to agree on were that taxes were too high and that Pia Durkin had to go.
It was
right?
pretty much. It was pretty much.
And-
Didn't matter what side of the fence you were voting. That's
you
what
voted for
want.
Perry or Mitchell. That was it. Like, it is just. It doesn't surprise me that I've been critical of Durkin and I during my 3 years at New Bedford High, I was a co-chair on various committees with NEASC and stuff. I was asked to sign off on things that I wasn't comfortable with. Anytime people raise criticism, they're gone. It is she runs it like a little fiefdom.
Yeah.
You speak up, you're gone. And we've had hundreds, and we're getting to the point where it's it's like 800-900 people that have just come and gone through the school district since she's been here. And that type of turnover is terrible. You need some continuity. Get rid of the bad teachers, fine, but you need continuity there for your child's education. And
Absolutely.
she destroyed
Absolutely.
that.
What's the next step?
Well, we
You
need
gonna
to
keep pushing, or
Yeah, so honestly, with kind of Christmas coming up, and then the focus has also been on my students, and then with my son in the hospital. Haven't had a lot of chance to go through this, but I think the next step is to start reaching out to some of the people that the information has been on there. Trying to gather
little
their
investigation
Yeah,
on it,
gather
yeah.
their information, kind of their stories, see if there's any patterns that I'm seeing here, and just bring that to light.
have you contacted the ACLU?
I've not, and I kind of want to talk to John Oliveira about that, how he wants to proceed. I don't want to do anything to step on his toes.
Yeah. Well, he just commented in the mayor appointed a search committee with no consultation.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, and you had
kind
Chris
of-
Cotter that was saying like, hey, I didn't even have a voice on this, and he's another member of the school committee.
That's crazy.
Yeah, what are you doing? So.
I'm surprised Mitchell is
And I like some
doubling
of
down on that
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I genuinely like some of the names that are on that list. Some of the names I don't know. So there are some good names on that list, but again, it's like, the future of our schools,
Yeah.
just behind closed doors, without the transparency of public scrutiny.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's sad. It's and the schools are out of control, and there's a lot of stuff being kept under the rug.
Yeah,
It's gonna come out. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
gonna come out. Trust me.
absolutely.
They're making the folders and they're getting it all out. They're getting it ready for.
Good.
It's unfortunate they probably won't use me or New Bedford guy to get it out there, but it's gonna be put out there in the media.
Yeah, and like on the one hand, like you feel bad, we're kind of like it's ludicrous just how ridiculous this entire situation is. It's so serious. Our schools is like my wife doesn't want to send our boys to school here because she doesn't trust the leadership
No.
in the public district.
She's right for thinking that. I think.
And there are so many parents that are making that decision to send their kids somewhere else. And like, this is New Bedford. Like, we should have an awesome school system. We should,
Absolutely.
And now it's just it's.
I think the
this
teachers.
joke.
I think the teachers are there, and it's just a leadership issue.
The
Chris,
teachers are great.
I'm getting yelled at by the producer.
No problem.
What's your plans for Christmas?
Well, we're gonna go up to the in-laws in Rockland on Christmas Eve.
Cool.
And other than that, we're just presents around the tree, and just there's a El Clasico. I love soccer. Was a soccer coach with the New Bedford girls high school team for 2 years. I played in college. Absolutely love soccer. El Clasico, Real Madrid, Barcelona.
Oh.
That's the 23rd. So I'm looking forward to that. Getting up at 7:30.
Big game.
Watch it.
Yeah, you got to watch
Absolutely,
it.
Yeah. So
I remember my dad watching the European games, getting up real
Oh
early.
yeah. So and just rooting on the Patriots. So
Perfect. Chris, thank you so much for
thank
being
you
here.
so much.
Like I said earlier, you're gonna be we're gonna keep you out there.
Thank
Trust
you,
me.
and
You know,
you got a good. And seriously, I'd genuinely thought I was gonna hate this guy, but the next guest is won all of my respect and admiration.
yeah, I thought I was gonna hate him too.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you, Chris.
All right, you
Have a
take
great
care.
night. That was Christopher Boerl, Dr. Christopher Boerl, the former city councilor at large candidate, and now fighter of information from the school department. I'm really liking what he's doing, keeping the fight going and making sure that the superintendent's accountable for what she's doing. I've been pretty vocal about how I feel about that. So let's hope that Chris can get some results out of it. Don't forget, folks, Cask and Pig Pasta House. If you can please get down there, they support your community. If you have any last minute gift cards you want to buy any loved ones or family members, buy 100 in gift cards, get 20 free. I even think that Mario will do like 250s or 425s and you still get your 20. I'm pretty sure he'll do that. 7 days a week, lunch at the Pig. Excellent food. Great atmosphere. And it's down the street from the mall. So after you get driven crazy over the next 2 days doing the last minute shopping, go up there for a beer. He's got tons of great selection. Our next guest, I've been going back and forth with him now for a couple weeks. We had some scheduling issues. He's Facebook famous here in the city. The guy is pretty ingenuitive the way he does his job within the community using social media. I'm a fan. I like the way he does it. Anytime he's tagged in a post, boom, he's right there. He talks about road work, talks about upcoming meetings. And he's involved, folks. And he's also the second most votes for city council at large. Ian Abreu, thank you, buddy, for being here.
Chris, thank you for having me on. And they say you don't really make it politically in New Bedford until you're on the Chris Resendes show.
Gosh,
so.
I'm on episode 13, so we must not have too many politicians in town.
But no, seriously, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. I'm glad we finally got able to connect with one another.
No, it's nice. I've interacted with you online, and I actually am a fan based on that, to be honest with you. You make yourself accessible. You use the platform as a tool, and more so than anybody, I felt. Chris wasn't an elected official, but he does it pretty well himself.
He does, and Chris is a nice guy, and I got to know him and his family during the election, and I appreciated the kind words that he gave. We started out as opponents and ended up friends, which is
That's fine.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
None of it's personal. Everyone can have different points of view and opinions about politics and how we can govern the city, but at the end of the day, we all have to come to the table. So I appreciate Chris's words.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I've had the sheriff on twice. 17 years ago, I couldn't stand the man. Now I'm a fan. I think he's doing things the right way, and he stands by his word, and he actually follows through with what he says he's going to do, which is tough, in the political world to do. And, people change, and ideas change, and initial feelings on others change, And Chris is a good guy. I mean, you're talking about a guy that politically, him and I are kind of
Polar opposites.
but I can sit down, have a beer with him probably, and just be fine. You know what I mean? He's clear thinking, and he appreciates the opinions of others and listens and understands, something that makes a good city councilor.
And that's what it's all about, getting to the table, reaching across the aisle. Even though in the New Bedford City Council there is no aisle to reach across because there's no political affiliation on a city ballot in Massachusetts, any city or town, there's no R or a D next to your name in the municipal race. But regardless, there are some Democrats on the city council that may have more of a progressive agenda. There are some Republicans who may have a little more of a conservative agenda.
Yeah.
It's about kind of muddying through those waters and trying to find a proposal and an initiative that's palatable for everybody. So I enjoy doing that.
Oh, that's awesome. Second highest votes.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
A
Because you
couple.
got some people who've been in for quite some time now.
Well, we worked hard. I wasn't, my team and I, we never had the mindset that even though I was an incumbent, we had it in the bag. While I was serving my term, doing the job every day, I was out campaigning every day. And the man leading the ship was Ross Nunes, who was my campaign manager. One of the brightest young political minds in the city, to be quite honest with you. He has a natural instinct for politics and, more importantly, for people and how to reach people and how to make them feel good about themselves. So, he kept me on message. We worked hard together. We were knocking on thousands of doors in the city of New Bedford, visibilities, standouts, and you dovetail that into what we talked about during your open about social media, Instagram, Facebook, being actively engaged through all mediums. So I like to think that our campaign was a little bit of a hybrid of new meets old world politics. We had the signs on the wooden stakes. We did the visibilities.
Yeah.
We did all that door-to-door stuff. I wore out a few pair of sneakers. It's all good. I needed the exercise anyway. I still need the exercise.
That's the holidays. We're gonna need a little more come New Year.
Well, I'm hibernating now.
Yeah.
And then you take that with the social media stuff. Advertising on New Bedford Guide. There's a plug for you.
Thanks. People don't realize it.
But seriously, advertising on New Bedford Guide and some strategic boosting and some strategic sponsoring of posts on my page. And keeping the residents of the city engaged and informed on what's going on. When they ask a question, answer their question. Be open, be transparent. And if you don't know the answer, just tell them you'll get them the answer. Contact the appropriate department head, and I've enjoyed doing that. City Hall and city government in most cities and towns can be frustrating at times. It can be very worrisome. It can be confusing. My job is to make that a little bit easier for everybody. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I enjoy what I do.
I mean, I tell everybody that, hey, you're doing your show, what channel is it on? I'm like, people don't watch TV anymore, man. If you haven't noticed, everybody's just walking around with their faces buried in their phones.
Yeah, it's
We have
true.
a great platform. I'm up almost like 200,000 total views at this point already, which is crazy.
Well, they all came on for me, I'm sure.
Not this show. I'm saying in
geez,
general,
okay,
like all the
right,
splits,
all right.
and it's crazy. Like I had no idea. Like one day, Mike showed me the numbers that we do better than 3 or 4 publications. We're talking better numbers than the Boston Herald.
No,
New Bedford Guide. It's crazy.
The metrics for New Bedford Guide are no joke.
Yeah,
and this is the way of the future, and we need to embrace it and engage it. And for the residents who may not be comfortable on social media or on the computer, they all know they can call me anytime. My number is posted right on the website, and I'll give it right now. It's 508-496-4335. This is my office right here. This is it.
Absolutely.
The iPhone 6. This is it.
Absolutely.
Or 7, whatever it is. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is my office. There's no administrative assistant. You call, you get me. If I don't answer, I'll return your call right away. And that's the way I try to do things.
It's the way to do things. As elected officials, take note.
Wow.
We were talking about some of our statewide representatives that don't return phone calls. It's crazy. It's I don't understand it. They forget where they came from, and it's tough. And use social media as a platform. It's very easy to stay in touch with your people through social media.
We see that a lot on the federal level.
Yeah,
a lot of
absolutely.
frustration from constituents.
I get very upset. And we'll get back to you, and then you get the generic email response that you know that some bot sent you. And you know what? It doesn't accomplish much. I want to really talk to you. We touched upon it with taxes with Chris, and we're having financial issues in the city. I know that you and I have talked about certain things. We're going to touch upon some topics that will generate some revenue. But there's a big issue now with the charter school reimbursement in the city. The way it's supposed to work is the city will be reimbursed a certain amount, and whatever you spend, I think it's $15 million almost going to the charter schools, and the state's only reimbursing $2 million.
So here's the deal. So when you look at our budget as a whole, like it's a pie graph,
Yep.
75% of that budget is made up of non-discretionary spending. So you're talking about health insurance, you're talking about pensions, which are fine. We have to pay those out. City employees and public safety officials serve their community. They deserve to get their pensions and their health insurance. Not talking about that, that's fine, but let's talk about charter school reimbursements. This is a topic that I talked about on the debate stage, and we're trying to bring it to light now, and I want to really work, or I guess urge our delegation on Beacon Hill locally to really take the lead on investigating this initiative. So what happens is that, most of you know, the money follows the child.
Yep.
So the money follows the child to the charter school. And by the way, I don't begrudge any parent for sending their child to a charter school, a private school, any autonomous school, a Catholic school.
At this point, it's a good choice, to be quite frank,
You know
because
what,
of the
that's-
turmoil we just discussed with Chris.
And that's their choice, and God bless them. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd be lying if I told you I didn't go to a Catholic school. I did, 7th and 8th grade. I went to St. James, St. John, had a great education. Went to New Bedford High, but I had a
Yeah.
Catholic school education. Anyway, so for fiscal year 18, the city of New Bedford, us, the taxpayers, we're going to be paying $14,579,552 to charter schools. So we're going to be paying that out because the money follows the kid, of which the Commonwealth of Massachusetts will only be reimbursing us a grand total of $2,311,000 and change. So that's a reimbursement rate of about 15.8%. Okay, so the general fund, us taxpayers, have to make up 84% of that differential. Now, it's incumbent upon, I think, you know, and this formula is killing urban communities throughout the entire state.
Yeah.
I think it's incumbent upon our Beacon Hill leadership to work with, and have a little regionalism here, work with the Fall River delegation, work with the Brockton delegation, the Springfield delegation, the Taunton delegation, the Lawrence delegation, all these inner city metropolitan communities in our state, to work in a bipartisan measure and a bipartisan effort to work on some new legislation that rewrites this reimbursement code.
Have you ever thought about drafting some and presenting it to any of our local guys?
Well, it's something I want to work on the city level, sure. I mean, we send letters to Beacon Hill all the time.
Yeah.
Of ideas and proposals.
Have you talked to Mayor Mitchell about this?
Oh, he agrees.
Yeah.
He understands the real important situation here of how this is. In the first year, it's 100% reimbursement, then it goes down to 25% over
Yeah.
the year incrementally. So it just isn't sustainable. It's not feasible. And it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And if we continue to have more problems in our school department,
Yep.
well, guess what? More and more charter schools are either going to eventually pop into the community, or the enrollment numbers are going to grow at these charter schools. What does that mean? More money following more students.
And now with the dual enrollment that they're doing at the high school, we're sending the money, but they're still using our resources at the high school.
Bingo.
That's something that was pushed by Mayor Mitchell.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I mean, there are some merits to it, in initiatives like that, but the reality is that we're just getting hosed on the reimbursement, and that's really what I'm trying to concentrate on. I'm not liking the formula, and, you know, I mentioned it during the debate, and it was even mentioned by one of the panelists saying, well, no one's really brought this up before. Well, I want to bring it up, and I want
Yeah.
to bring it up with my colleagues, and we have a lot of pragmatic counselors on
Yeah.
the city council that I enjoy working with, and I know many of them agree with me, and I know many of the constituents agree with me as well.
Well, when you're talking about over $12 million that you could use for other stuff in the city,
You're talking-
potholes, you know, lowering tax rates a little bit.
How
you know.
about brownouts?
Yeah, brownouts.
Okay.
Exactly. The fire department, you can hire more police officers with $12 million.
It's a lot of money.
There's a lot of stuff here, and honestly, guys, when I go with the guests, I generally, you know, have a pre-interview where I talk to them a little bit, and you know, most of the questions I lay out. But this is something that, you know, Councilor Abreu really, really felt strong about, and that he wanted to bring to you, the voters, so that way, you know, if you're not hearing this from your local council or your Ward 2, Ward 1, Ward 6, wherever it be, give the phone call. Call the mayor's office. You know, call Representative Cabral. Call Senator Mark Montigny. Do all this stuff, because this type of reimbursement that's not coming back to the city is taking away police officers, school teachers, and firefighters off your street, fixing potholes. $12 million goes a long way.
And not only that too, but also go and vote.
Yes.
Go vote every 2 years.
Yeah, the numbers were skewed. We had a pretty good turnout.
We did, yeah. It wasn't too bad.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Mike actually hit it right on the head with his. He's been pretty good with his predictions.
Well, I mean, we had a hotly contested mayor's race. We had 3 open seats. We had the at-large, the school committee race, and there was a lot going on. So it drummed up a lot of excitement, I think. And I think it's a credit to local media outlets like yourselves for doing the profiles, doing live debates, because it got people really involved and interested in what's going on in their city.
I think Mike kicked butt with all the debates, to be honest with you. Gave everybody a chance. I know I gave Charlie Perry a little bit of crap for not showing up for the last one. But I think that's everybody's obligation to show up each and every time you're presented with the opportunity to sell yourself to the voters. That's just me.
There was a debate, our last debate at the Golden School Neighborhood Association that our friend Buddy Andrade was hosting, and I had a stomach bug that night, and I was up the night before. We won't get into specifics, but we've all had the stomach bug.
Yeah.
But I was even debating, should I even go? And Ross Nudes, my campaign manager, kicked me in the butt and said, I don't care, unless you're in the emergency room,
You
you're
gotta
going to
go.
be there. And I said, you know what, you're right. So I drank a lot of water. I just kind of toughed it out. But it was a good thing to, and you're absolutely right.
It's your interview.
You have to be there.
Yeah, it's your
Exactly.
interview. You show up for a job interview and not show up and expect the job?
Correct.
That's how I feel about it. We're talking about budget shortfalls, and that's going to actually segue into the next topic, which is the question 4, which passed in Massachusetts, which now legalizes marijuana. Retail shops will be open by July 2018, according to the administration. There have been some laws laid out. You and I have discussed some numbers. The city is now working on its own ordinance that the state kind of just, here you go, guys. We don't want to give you too much and let you guys. They didn't want to catch any slack for it, so they're going to put it on the local level. We're talking about, the amount of licenses that they got to grant, the type of licenses they got to grant, the zoning, and then you guys can also play with the numbers on taxes and fees and surcharges, I believe.
So we were, so first thing is first, New Bedford spoke in large numbers last November. They told their elected representatives in City Hall and on Beacon Hill that they want safe access to recreational cannabis. Whether I smoke or you smoke, Chris, or a viewer and listener watching right now or listening smokes, it's really irrelevant. The reality is 57.40% of New Bedford said we want it. We have 36 voting precincts in our city. 33 out of 36 voted for this in the affirmative. It was a mandate.
I voted against it, but the people spoke.
They did.
And I'm all about people speaking and making sure they get out, vote, and let the best man win or let the best agenda win. And here you go. That's power by numbers. What I didn't like is how people voted, and then Beacon Hill kind of pushed it off. We know how to do it a little better than you, but all it was a disguised money grab to pay for their 79% pay raises. Hey, Mark. But now we have to deal with the situation where you have excise taxes at a rate of 3.75%. You're having, the 2% of city or town that you can add for yourselves.
Yeah.
Then now Beacon Hill moved it up to 10.75, but no higher than 17.5% tax. We're just taxing the hell out of this.
So
People are going to be kind of on the whole retail market because you can't really, they don't. Some people are still going to go to these shops, you know what I mean? And some people are just going to say, the heck with it. I'm not paying taxes on weed, you know what I mean?
And that's the tough decision because you're trying to thread that needle. You're trying to eliminate the black market, but you're not trying to price yourself out of
It's
the
a
market,
business,
so
man.
it goes to the
Yeah.
black market.
Yeah, it's a business.
Tough. I tell you, if I was on Beacon Hill, there would have been some really long nights. But I try to be as pragmatic as I can with these kinds of things. The reality is that when the state passed its preliminary, and I'll stress preliminary, rules and regulations last Friday during Hanukkah, during Christmas, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday.
Yep.
But that's okay.
That's part of the playbook.
It might be.
No, that's part of the
That's
playbook.
that's not
trust
part
me.
of my playbook,
Yeah.
but yeah. But so there are some questions about some of these initial rules and regulations. There are some concerns. We talked about it earlier. The way the referendum passed is that, and it's now binded into law, signed by the governor and the House and Senate, worked it through, is that a city and town would have to allow at least 20% of its liquor establishment licenses to allow 20% of that number to have a retail marijuana dispensary. But here's
So that's restaurants that serve liquor and liquor stores package stores that sell liquor.
So-
That's 20% of that, correct?
Right. So, but here's the thing. It doesn't explain what the 20% is. So in the new law the new preliminary. So in other words, we talk about the regular pot shops, right?
Yep.
The dispensaries. So that's one. But also now we're talking about two types of medicinal or recreational marijuana. It's recreational now for the most part. It'll be recreational cafes. There's two types of licenses now for recreational cafes. There's one where 50% or more of the cannabis is consumed on site, so like a hookah bar type deal,
Yeah.
or a marijuana specific bar. And then there's another license where less than 50% is of the marijuana is consumed on premises, and it's more of a mixed use. So it'll be like a restaurant marijuana bar
Takeout.
combo, or it could be a massage parlor or a movie theater or a yoga studio where you can smoke a little bit, partake in your activity. So it doesn't explain, is that part of the 20%? We don't know. Another piece to this are these marijuana research facilities, which I love the idea of allowing budding entrepreneurs and scientists to be able to open up marijuana
No
research.
pun intended. Budding.
You picked up on that. We're trying to weed it out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But you got to have fun with it, right, Chris?
No, I'm with you, bro.
You got to
I
have
love
fun.
it.
But no,
My
seriously.
wife makes fun of me for stupid jokes, so
My wife does
I'm
too, all the
with
time.
you, bro. I love it.
And she might be listening at home. She's wrapping gifts for our daughter tonight. So hi, Sam.
My wife has been rapping like crazy. I posted a meme today of Wonder Woman doing her transformation into her hero costume.
Yeah.
My wife's been up every night rapping and working and
Yeah.
working. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, you poor thing. And then last night she let me go to a Celtics game because
Tough loss last night. That was tough.
It was tough, but my buddy and my buddy actually had a luxury box that he brought a bunch of us up
good
to.
for
So
you.
it was nice. It was like being treated well, so it was
Well,
good.
Kyrie Irving had the open look at the end, but he was kind of leaning.
Yeah, he
it
was
off
leaning.
balance.
The shot was off. From our angle, we knew it was off right away.
But again,
not to digress.
No,
Let's
but
get
again,
back to the-
but again, my wife, she, I give her a lot of credit because she shares me with the city of New Bedford, and
It's amazing,
It
dude.
takes a lot to do that, and I think sometimes I might take that for granted, but.
I wouldn't be half the man I am if it weren't for my wife.
But yeah, so about the marijuana, so the cannabis research facilities, I'm really excited about that because what we have for biomed and right up the road and UMass Dartmouth, what's happening
Absolutely.
there, and the science students, and if we can continue to foster these initiatives to study the plant and learn more of the medicinal and holistic values of it, and find out how we can better utilize the plant, I'm all for that as well. So there's no dispensing out of these research facilities, no cultivating. You would buy the product and you would test out different strands. So things like that I'm really down with. I think it's really cool.
Now, what about the zoning? That's going to be a tough part of doing it correctly.
Yeah.
We are going to have some business owners that are not going to want to be next door, like downtown area. A lot of money and a lot of time's been put into downtown. There are going to be some people that are turned off by it.
Yep.
Yet it may attract a lot more downtown. Maybe some convention type stuff. There's a lot of stuff that it'll bring. There's money behind marijuana. Now, how you channel it, it's going to be the like you said, threading the needle properly.
I really believe there's a way for everyone to be a winner in this. I respect the fact, obviously, that 58% of New Bedford said yes, but I'm also respectful that 42% of New Bedford said no.
Perfect.
And I think as we begin to look at some of the zoning parameters through ordinance with our administration, this has to be a collaborative approach. And the mayor and I spoke about this, and he's on board, his administration, to work with the city council. I also believe that the health department has to be involved in this discussion. I also think that Police Chief Joseph Cordero has to be part of this discussion, and I have the utmost respect for Chief Cordero and what he's been trying to do. And I know he's made his views of recreational marijuana public, and he makes no bones about it. He didn't support the initiative, but he understands and respects, like you did, that the people spoke. So I'd like to understand his point of view, because he certainly should have a seat at that table, because it can't just be all pro. It has to be con, and we need to flush this out. As far as zoning goes, we're thinking about industrial zones, maybe perhaps, thinking about, and obviously, we obviously don't want these in residential neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
So the state, what it did, the state punted, okay? They gave it the old boot right down the field on zoning. They said, you guys figure it out. For medicinal, they already kind of had parameters. They still have the parameters where it can't be within 500 feet of a school or a church or where children congregate.
That's for medical. That's for medicinal only.
Right.
Let's differentiate
Medicinal.
the difference.
So that's why, like Beacon Compassion Center, which I worked very hard on, as did the administration and the colleagues on the council, to work with to try to bring them here. They're going to be on Hathaway Road. They're still working through some of the legal process through that, but that host agreement was ratified by us. But they're near nothing. They're near the highway, so they don't have a problem.
Yeah.
ARL, cultivation, which we ratified also as the council, that host agreement, they're gonna be in the industrial park, not near children, not near schools. So obviously, we don't want these near schools, we don't want them near children. That goes without saying. I'm a father, you're a father.
But the recreational,
The recreation, so here's the thing, we need, we have a lot, you'd be amazed at some of the mixed-use business districts that we have in New Bedford. They're all over the
they're
place.
everywhere.
So a mixed-use business district is downtown. It's also Acushnet Avenue. But if you're on Acushnet Avenue, you're near neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
How does that all play out? We got to figure out a way to do that. It's going to be, we said it earlier, threading that needle or trying to find a way to make it work. New Bedford is open for business, and we have to be open for business. This is going to be a billion-dollar industry. Colorado made $996 million in profit last year.
Yeah.
Off revenues. And what's cool about this too is,
That's what I was going to ask you, actually. I will cut you off, I'm sorry, but
no, it's okay,
have
it's
any
your
of
show.
you actually tried to actually go out to Colorado or these places that have already established this as, a fact-finding mission for this? Because you're not talking peanuts here. There's a lot of possible dollars on the table and a lot of, it's here.
Yeah, I think it would be
We're already
yeah.
here. So now you have to embrace it and make it work for your constituents.
I think it would be important, sure, to talk to some of the stakeholders, find out, again, those who have been supportive of the industry, those who have done well with the industry, but those who are against the industry. The reality is this, and JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Associates, recently concluded its 5-year study. And in its 5-year study, they concluded that communities that had either a medicinal or a recreational cannabis dispensary saw a decrease in opiate-related overdoses by 25%. Why? I know the general thought is that, well, it's another vice, it's another drug. It's true. Cannabis is a drug. However, the reality is that cannabis has been used as a pain management tool for individuals for centuries. This goes back to Eastern medicine.
Yeah.
So if you're suffering from cancer or a debilitating disease like a Parkinson's or whatever the case may be, if you get a medicinal card or if you partake recreationally, it's more likely to ease your pain. And if you're not on opiates, you're not going to be likely to want to go toward the heaviest stuff because marijuana is proven to be non-addictive. So the statistics are there, and JAMA is a reputable source. This isn't some back alley a survey that was done. This was a 5-year, very concrete study, and anyone who's interested, I urge you to Google it because it's really detailed and authoritative and very and it's just a great study. So I recommend anyone to check that out.
Yeah.
I think it might serve you well.
Another aspect that a lot of people, and I know I haven't talked to you about this, I have some friends who are ready to invest in it, and invest in it hard. I have a firearms business. I deal with a lot of former military guys, a lot of trained individuals, and I'm networked in with them. And I was actually asked to start up a money service for these shops.
Because it's a cash-only business.
It's a cash-only business because of the feds, and now criminals actually know the rules. You're having special forces guys out in Colorado protecting the money. I hope you know that. I don't think many of you guys know that. It's something that was brought to my attention, and they had asked me to look into it to see if it'd be something that I'd be interested in. And then once I found out that there are millions of dollars being moved around and you need special forces guys protecting it and counterintelligence guys protecting you and your family because you're responsible for routes and you're responsible for the transportation of money without the protection of the government and the laws that bank robbery laws. Because all it is
And delivery.
an armed robbery on another individual. It's not an armed robbery on a bank or an armored car anymore at this point.
Correct. And part of the rules and regs that we didn't touch upon, home delivery service is part of it, up to $3,000. You can't order more than $3,000
Yeah.
worth of product. I don't know why you would, but
So here's the point now that a lot of you, I probably just gave you an oh crap moment when I just said that. You're gonna have these companies coming in here now. You might want to think about drafting some regulation on money courier services. You may want to really, really delve into that. There's going to be a spike in robberies and attempts because there's no protection, and that's a fact. That's a fact because I know, because I personally looked into the business. I was asked to start up the business from Massachusetts. A lot of people don't know that. Quickly, I learned that it's not something I want for my family. Like I said, I voted against it. Someday I don't want my kid, it's a lucrative business, but I don't want my son looking at me like I ran drug money someday possibly. I know it's natural, I know I voted for it, I smoked a ton of weed when I was in high school, trust me, I'm not talking out of school here. I know more about it than most people. It's not something I want to do as a father
yeah.
and as a family man.
Sure.
So I got out of it, but it's something that you need to be cognizant about.
Sure. Well, like I said, I mean, I agree with you, and the reality is that the people did speak, and I agree with you on that, and it's incumbent upon us to instill the will of the people, but do it within reason, I think.
Yeah.
Because 58% of New Bedford said yes, but 42% said no.
Yes, exactly.
So this wasn't a 98 to 2% type deal. You know what I mean? It
No,
was,
yeah. It's split. It's a split deal, And with the turnout of the voting at the time, some of the people that are against it really didn't get out that election year, and it was a hard drive to get it on the ballot and go by
Yeah.
the people that wanted it. So that's also, the numbers are a little skewed as well on that end.
Sure.
You study elections, it's part of your game plan when you're running.
It was on the presidential ballot.
Exactly.
That's what it was on.
Yeah. Christmas plans. Actually, let's wrap, before we wrap up marijuana, is that all you want to talk about? Or is there anything else that you really want to touch upon your constituents when it comes to this? Because this is a hot topic in the groups.
Well, just obviously, I know I'm going to be, and I'm positive my colleagues on the council and the administration and the health department and the police department, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that those who support the industry, that supported the initiative, that voted for it, are going to get their safe access. And those who are a little on the fence about it, that might have some concerns about it, we're going to work diligently to address those concerns as well. And you talked about public safety. That's going to be of the utmost concern. Working with neighborhood groups, working with you, the constituents, to find out what your concerns are. I wouldn't be shocked if there are actually community meetings as well as part of this process.
Yeah.
But we're going to work in concert with the administration, without a doubt. We have to. We can't play this tit-for-tat game back and forth with the mayor and the council. It's time to come together, and we have a commitment to do that.
This is a big deal. It could make or break the city financially, and if you use it smart, it can work for you. If you do this and you make rash decisions, it could blow up in everybody's face.
I'm not interested in doing that, and I'm not saying be a rubber stamp for the administration, but in large part, I agree with a lot of what John Mitchell has to say. I respect him. We're friendly, so it's time to work together.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the local ordinance that you guys have proposed, section 17-10.1, use of marijuana in public areas.
Yep.
Smoke or consume marijuana or use in public way. Here's where it got a little tricky on me. Consuming a Ziploc bag, it's not really
Yep.
packaged. Do you understand what I'm getting
I know
to?
where you're going
it
with
opens up, it's kind of vague, that type of vague language that I speak of on other issues that can kind of get people jammed up, and it's not fair to leave vague laws on the book.
And that's why it was sent back to the ordinance committee for review. For example, and I was speaking to an attorney about it who's well versed. I said, well, what if it's for medicinal marijuana and you have your medicine on you? Well, if you're in public, I said, well, what if you're rolling your joint, your cigarette, and that's part of your medicine, but you're going to smoke it at home, but you're seen with it in public, even though you may have a card? Well, you could be subject to arrest. I said, well, what if someone's walking on Class Key Common Park and they have a prescription for Vicodin, and they pop their Vicodin right out in broad daylight, and they shotgun a Vicodin with some water, and they just took their pill. I said, they're out in plain sight. Are they subjected to arrest? Well, no, they're not. I said, well,
That's got to change.
one's a prescription and one's the other. So,
Yeah.
so you're absolutely right. It left open a lot of interpretation. So long and short of it is, it was sent back to committee to look into, and stay tuned.
Well, I'm glad you did that. Anything else you want to touch upon this?
No, I've really enjoyed the opportunity the last 2 years to serve the residents of the city of New Bedford. I'm really honored that they, again, bestowed the honor on me once again to go back into City Hall and be one of their 11 representatives on the City Council for the next 2 years. I look forward to the next 2 years working with my colleagues, with the administration, with department heads, but most importantly, with all of you, the residents of New Bedford. Call me anytime, reach out to me. You know where to find me, folks.
Yeah.
I think you do.
He's
So-
on Facebook, guys.
I'm on Facebook.
All the groups.
And I'm on the Chris Resendes show.
Yeah. Now your career's gonna go straight to hell.
Oh.
Just kidding. Let's
But,
hope I'm a good luck charm for guys so that we can have some great guests on. I mean, I keep getting lucky with awesome guests, and I'll start it off tonight with Kyleah Bodden.
Yeah, it was
That's
a great story.
right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a little girl that just shows selflessness, and I mean, at the age of 10,
10.
it's crazy. It's
A
great.
Carney Academy student.
Yeah.
Isn't it great?
No, it's nice when local
Yeah.
kids do good stuff. What are you doing for Christmas?
So we get the family. My in-laws do Christmas Eve. My family does Christmas Day. So we'll go to my in-laws on Christmas Eve. They do a little dinner. Portuguese dinner, of course, all the good stuff. You've got
Yeah.
all the nice Portuguese foods, the chorizo, potatoes, that stuffing that you can stick to a wall and it'll stick.
Yeah, but it tastes good though.
It's amazing. That's why I am the way I am.
Yeah.
And then Christmas Day, a little dinner at my house. And my daughter, this is my daughter's first year where she'll be really cognizant of
But she understands.
the Santa thing.
Yeah.
She's saying Santa now. She
Yeah,
gets
it's
it.
cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Even though she cried when we brought her to the mall to sit on Santa's.
We did it at Phase last weekend. My daughter's 2.
Is it the rite of
and she didn't-
passage?
Yeah, she was like, get away.
I
you
love
know?
it. But yeah, I never knew what responsibility was till I was a father. I was elected and I started serving before my daughter was born.
Best
and
job
I thought,
on earth.
And I thought I had a big job to do then. My number one favorite job is dad. That's my number one job.
It's the best job on earth, man.
A great person once told me that when I first got elected. They said, you give the most of your life to your family and to God, and the city gets what's left. So I try to mix it all together. I think I do a pretty good job, but I'm just here to help out any way I can.
And you do. Ian is, like I said, accessible more than anybody in the city. And I mean that.
Thank you.
It's a compliment, and it's a title that you deserve. You are very accessible. I never see anybody else do it like you do, man. And I'm really, really happy that you came on.
I'm happy to be here.
It took long enough, but
Hey,
we got you.
when you're booking high-profile
Yeah.
guests like me, I guess,
yeah,
right?
you're gonna be back on though. You'll be back on.
anytime,
And,
yeah.
Actually, you want to touch upon a show that you're gonna start? I don't know if we're talking about that. Yet,
I don't know if it's public yet, but yeah, I guess, yeah.
Josh?
Is that
we
public?
could talk about it.
We
Sure.
can talk about it. So, starting after the new year, I'm going to be starting a show right here on New Bedford Guide. We haven't thought of a name yet, but it's going to be highlighting workforce opportunities in the region, talking about local employers that are hiring. We're going to feature jobs that are open in the region. We're going to bring in a special segment on every show. We're going to have a veteran come in, and that particular underemployed veteran is actually going to give
Wow.
his or her resume live in color over the internet, so that those who may be job, not only seekers, but those who might be employers can hire that person. So that's going to be a segment. We're going to bring in employers. We're going to bring in vocational schools, talk about not only what they're doing for students, but for adult courses and continuing education. BCC will have a seat at the table, UMass Dartmouth, the Workforce Investment Board, the Economic Development Council, the E4L folks, Groundwork, which we're in right now. So it's going to be a great show. I look forward to hitting the ground running. My degree was in this. My degree was in communications and broadcast and journalism. Then I realized there was no money in the business.
Yeah.
So then I kind of went into the Chamber of Commerce industry. That's where I do now during the
Yeah.
day. The business development director at the South Coast Chamber. And the city council stuff is what I do. I guess that's 24/7, really.
Yeah, you pretty much are.
Yeah.
You pretty much are. Ian, thank you so much. I
Always a
appreciate having
pleasure.
you on.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you and your family. Prosperous New Year.
Same to you. Thank you.
And wishes that more guys follow your lead
Wow.
in politics locally. Most politics takes place locally, people. Guys like Ian You want all your representatives to be like him, whether you agree with him or not. I'm not saying I'm not like the term rubber stamping what Ian says, but he's accessible and he explains himself. A lot of people don't do that, and you should appreciate people that do take the time to explain their decision making and the process it took to get to that decision. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of our elder statesmen in this area just forgot about the common man and think that they don't owe us the explanation on their decisions, as they're there to represent us and our choices. Think about that, folks. Really think about that. Again, everybody that donated to the Children of Puerto Rico, I cannot thank you enough. It was my first real toy drive that I've ever done. My first venture with New Bedford Guide. I couldn't do it without New Bedford Guide. Thank you, Mike, for allowing me to use this venue to establish such a, I can't. It was so nice to see everybody coming together, past friends that I grew up with. Just, yeah, man, we're here to help. And Edwin Cartagena and Darlene Spencer at the United Way. Kyleah Bodden, you gave up your birthday present for this. You're amazing. I just want to thank everybody that partook in it. And again, guys, last minute, if you didn't buy your in-laws something, your boss, your buddy at work, stop by the Cask or Pasta House, $100 worth of gift cards, you get $20 gift card back. You can actually buy your lunch while you're there with that second gift card, probably, I think. I don't know. I'm not even sure. But something like that will work. I want to thank everybody again for your viewership. Anybody that's interested in advertising on this show or any New Bedford Guide, we're a proven asset for your business. Trust me. Videos like mine, I'm up over 200,000 views now total. These shows get out. If you're interested in advertising with a show or just a New Bedford Guide in general, contact Mike at newbedfordguide.com. Again, all the past shows I've done that include mental illness, drug addiction, domestic violence, and breast cancer awareness. Anything you have any questions on, you need a bed, you need to get out of an abusive relationship, you need a doctor. I have contacts at South Coast Hospital now. I got contacts in the rehab treatments and all that, treatment facilities. And Jen over at Safe Foundation, and Ashley Bendixson, they have my resources for domestic violence. I will get your information to them immediately. Chris at New Bedford Guide. I'm off next week for the holidays. I'm heading down south with the family. God bless everybody and your family. Merry Christmas, and have a healthy and happy, prosperous New Year, and I'll see you on the 3rd. Thank you for your viewership. Have a great night, New Bedford Guide.